you are on the platform, and I was interested to note in mainstream media a kind of relaunch of a political organisation I've had something to do with in the past, actually. I was its media and communications manager during the 2017 election campaign, which, dare I say, was something of a high point for the top party. It got to 3.7%. It was headed to get to 5%. And then Jacinda Ardern came along and everything changed in the 2017 election. But the Opportunities Party has changed a lot since then, and indeed it's changed its name. And it has a new leader, Qiulae Wong, who joins us by video link now. Qiulae, congratulations and welcome to the platform.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
All right. What is the new name of the organisation?
It is the wildly different, the Opportunity Party, and we are dropping the top.
Okay, so top's gone. It's hard to get away from top, though, isn't it?
I think it's always going to be a legacy name that lots of people will remember, but it's also something that doesn't mean necessarily a lot to people that are hearing about the party for the first time. So, I think opportunity really encapsulates what we're about and the opportunity that we have right now to actually build a constructive, positive vision for New Zealand.
Okay, on the political spectrum, where does the opportunity, what do you call it, opportunity now? You just call yourselves opportunity?
Yeah,
That's
opportunity.
Where does opportunity see its opportunity? Who's the typical opportunity voter that you'll be going after, before the next election?
Yeah, so I think there are a few different diverse groups that will be really attracted to some of our policies, and there will be some that traditionally identify with the right, and there will be some that traditionally identify with the left. We like to keep people guessing and keep people moving forward. Things like our tax reset are all just as much about reducing bureaucracy and making sure that our tax system works efficiently as it is about supporting people with the cost of living.
Okay, I think the term that used to be used was radical centrism. Would that still work?
I think that still works, particularly in this day and age when we've got, we're getting whiplash from getting pulled left to right every couple of years, each one undoing each other's work. Being a centrist is radical these days. And kudos to Gareth for having that vision in 2017.
A lot of policy work was done back in the day. UBI still a cornerstone policy?
In some ways, so the citizens' income is based on the concept of a UBI. There's some slight differences in terms of having some tapering off at the top, but it is almost universal.
All right. What about capital gains tax?
So we think the most appropriate way to tax property in this country is the land value tax. And we think it's more efficient, it's less administratively burdensome, and it actually achieves the objective of disincentivizing holding on to property unnecessarily and encouraging Kiwis to grow their wealth through other means like shares, businesses. There's lots of other ways we can do that. We don't have to buy 5 properties to be able to save for our retirement.
Okay, where are you on the environment? Where are you on zero carbon?
Yeah, I think it's important. And, my background is in this space, working with businesses to help them grow and succeed, but also look after the environment and people as well. And the number one thing that I found businesses were really frustrated with was the lack of stability and certainty of a goal. So if we're committing to net zero, let's get there and let's just keep our eyes set on that.
But net zero is collapsing around the world.
Every now and then.
Net zero is collapsing around the world.
Well, I don't think I don't think it necessarily is. I don't think businesses believe that. Businesses are investing heavily into changing the way they operate, into changing their business models. New Zealand businesses are still going to have to interact in the global market, regardless of what domestic policies we have.
Okay, so that's interesting. That emphasis on that. Would you see those who might be disenchanted with the Green Party, which seems to have morphed into something a long way away from its initial environmental aims, would you see that as fertile ground to get new supporters?
I think that there are, a lot of differences between us and the Green Party. The main one being that we are genuinely willing to work with anyone to move this country forward. The Greens have quite clearly pegged their flag to the left, and we think that there's a lot that we can work with on both ends of the spectrum, and that's going to help move New Zealand forward. So I think that's something that lots of Kiwis, not just traditional Green voters, want to see.
All right. Look, here are some other issues that I know are important to my audience. Where are you on the Treaty of Waitangi and the principles of the Treaty of Waitangi? And we could talk about current issues as they apply to education, for example.
Yeah, so we as a party believe in the treaty as a founding document of New Zealand. We wouldn't all be here if it weren't for that. At the same time, we have amazing migrant communities, and all of that makes up the fabric of this country. We think that everyone just needs to be supported to build a life and to contribute, regardless of their race.
Well, here's a fundamental question on that, Qiulae. Is New Zealand a multicultural society or a bicultural society?
I think we're a multicultural society with bicultural roots.
Okay, that's bloody good. Can I just say bloody good answer?
Do you know what? There's quite a nice analogy, and I don't know if it necessarily works, but this is what it is in my head. If it's kind of like a pavlova, so Pākehā Europeans and Māori are like the meringue, and all the other cultures are like the cream of the fruit on top, and neither really works without the other. And I think we are one awesome pavlova as a country.
Okay, where are you on gender affirming care, puberty blockers, and the issue of transgenderism?
Honestly, this is an issue that I know means a lot to lots of groups, and I don't want to dismiss that people have strong views about this, but we do really see it as a culture war that is distracting from some of the real issues that we need to talk about, like our infrastructure issues, how we're going to pay for superannuation, how we're going to get out of this economic rut. I think we need to solve those problems first. And
okay, well, let's get it down. If it's a culture war, what about women's rights and women's rights to compete in sport against other women and have safe spaces? Where are you on that?
Yeah, again, I think my personal view is that we need to be fair, and I guess that means different things to different people. But again, I think this is an issue that affects a small number of people, and it's not to say that it's not important, but we want to focus, I want to focus this time talking with you and talking with Kiwis about how we're going to solve the big issues. Because when we solve those...
Well, I have to ask you, it is form that I have to ask you this question. What is a woman?
Okay. I will give you my personal opinion, and I would say it is someone who was born or becomes a biological woman.
Can you become a biological woman if you weren't born a biological woman?
I think going back to the sport question, there are examples where women can go through a process to have the hormones and everything else, and essentially be a woman. Again, this is not an issue. I got to, because
we're talking reality here. Can someone become a woman if they're born a man, in your opinion?
I think there is I'm not an expert in this. Look, I'm not a doctor, and I'm probably like most Kiwis, and I read articles on these things that inform my view. I'm open to lots of other people's perspectives. Again, I don't think it's an issue that the majority of Kiwis want to be talking about right now, when things like the cost of living and our housing crisis are the things that are smacking us in the face every single day.
All right. Let's move on to some other issues then. Is there a housing crisis? We've had a housing crisis for years. Crises are meant to be points of change. We've just got a bad housing situation, haven't we? I don't know that it is a crisis.
I think that you're right, that crises are a point of change, and we've not had the guts to change, and hence the crisis continues and continues. For me, buying a house is 7 to 9 times my income. For my parents, it was 3. When my kids leave university, what will that be? 15 or 20 times income? That seems completely unrealistic. And I don't want to see them not have that security. Or what's more likely is they will leave New Zealand and never come back. And, when I decided to come back from London with my husband and our daughter, buying a house and being able to buy a house was an important part of that decision. If we couldn't afford it, and we were lucky that we had saved and been able to do that. If we couldn't afford it, I don't know if we would have come back from London, and that would have been gutting for my mum and for our families here.
All right. Do you rule in or rule out? And what is, if you were to get over the 5% threshold, which is the most likely path to Parliament for a party like Opportunity, would you just fundamentally join a coalition or not? That's first question.
We're not ruling anything out at this stage.
Okay.
I know previously we have had a stronger preference for one way or the other. I think we have to be open, and it really is going to depend who those conversations are with. And what their
at the moment, looking at the parties, the parties currently in Parliament, which of those parties do you feel the philosophy and the newly directed and rebranded Opportunity Party would be most simpatico with?
I think either of the two major parties are our most likely alliances, and so we'll be focusing on how we can hold them accountable and keep them moving forward, rather than be, someone that pulls them further to the left or further to the right.
Okay, I'm going to come back to a question I asked and you didn't answer, to my mind, earlier on. Who then do you think might vote for you? What is their age? What is their ethnicity? Are they urban? Are they provincial? And what is their level of education? That's, who's your core market?
Yeah, I'll give you two examples, and I'm sure there's more, but these are the two that are probably top of mind for me. One are the grafters in this economy who are working really hard. They're on a low to middle income, but they're being squeezed by the cost of living because the price of everything has gone up much faster than their wages.
Yep.
Our citizens' income and land value tax package will significantly make their life better. They will have a shot potentially at owning a home, and they will have a bit more money in their back pocket to get by and get ahead.
So the working poor, I think they're called the working poor as a political cohort, is what you're talking about.
Well, I suppose I'd call them the grafters. I think they're out there working their asses off and they're not getting rewarded for it. So that's one. And then the second would be those that, I suppose this is a group that I identify with, those that are working in business and see a better way forward where we can actually focus on growth and fight hard for the environment. Those two things can go hand in hand. You don't have to be a super green hippie lefty. You don't have to be a super, right-wing businesswoman either. You can be both. And I think, that there is a big and growing cohort there, particularly, young families with young kids that want to see a brighter future for them to grow up in.
Woke capitalists. That's what I'd call them.
I think everything was woke once upon a time, wasn't it? Women's rights to, marriage equality, women voting.
All right.
Just because it's new doesn't mean
you're going to hate this, and I used to hate it too. But you've got to clear it. If you want to rebrand, you've got to deal with it and put it behind you. What is the policy on feral cats?
Oh, God. I feel like there's no good answer to this, but there is no cat policy in our policy platform. Go and have a look. I personally love cats. We did, we got a cat door put in our kitchen last year. Not that we have one yet, but my husband is determined for us to get one.
And might I say that most local bodies across New Zealand now have feral cat eradication or control policies because of the terrible things they do particularly.
We also love birds. So, yes.
All right. How many members you got at the moment?
I don't have the actual figure.
Give me a ballpark.
I know that we have had a boost. I honestly don't. I honestly can't give you a ballpark. I've only been in this job a couple of weeks. I'm getting my head across everything at the moment. My priority has been getting out and speaking to people about our kind of key policies and where we're going moving forward. I know that I've had a lot of really positive response, so I'm really confident that we're going to see those numbers boost.
Okay, well, I wish you all the best. It's a hard old road, and you need $150,000 boats, and it's a very competitive market. Nice to meet you, Qiulae. Good luck for the future.
Awesome. Thank you, Sean.
Cheers.
Bye-bye.
That is Qiulae Wong. She is the new leader of the Opportunity Party. It wants to be called Opportunity. Top's gone.